Hey guys, Yips here, coming to the video, and today I want to talk to you guys about Destro lock on the Battle for Azeroth beta servers. Now, Destro is probably looking like the most positive spec going into BFA. The reason I say that is it currently seems extremely stable. A lot of the kind of things that made Destro annoying have been improved, going from Legion to Battle for Azeroth. Obviously, we lost a couple things, but that's okay in the end. But yeah, overall, Destro definitely looking very solid, and I want to talk to you guys about like the talents, a little bit about the rotation, kind of some cool things you can do as Destro, as well as what's changed from Legion. So let's just start by talking about what's changed, just so you guys can kind of get it caught up and not be too confused about the different stuff that's going on here. So obviously, we lost our artifact weapon, which means no more portals. I do like portals, like I do like the portals system on Legion. But losing it isn't like the biggest deal. It was a little bit of an RNG system that went into Destro, and we do have some new tools to make up for it. So obviously, you know, portals were really cool and really fun to use in my opinion, but again, with them being gone, it still doesn't hurt Destro too much. Let's talk about the positive things that changed going from Legion into Battle for Azeroth. So what's changed? The first thing and the most important thing and the best thing ever, and every Destro user is 100% happy about this change, is Havoc's baseline cooldown has been reduced. So you no longer have to go to your 100 tier and you don't have to pick the reduced Havoc cooldown. You just have it now. You just have a 25-second passive Havoc CD, which is exceptionally quick. Okay, 25 seconds goes by like nothing when it has a 10% or 10-second uptime. So your uptime on this is like what, like 40%. It's really, really, really good, and I couldn't be happier with this 25-second change. I'm just going to show you guys what this looks like. So, like, imagine you're on a 2-target fight with, say, Billy and Bob over here, right? And you just, you cast an Immolate, you Havoc, do double conflag, and you start casting Chaos Bolts. By the time, oh crap, we're attacking the wrong target. By the time you're done casting the Chaos Bolts, your shard count has been depleted, and by the time that you're able to work up your shard count again on these two targets, your Havoc's basically off cooldown already, right? Which is what makes it feel really fluent, is you always feel like you're building towards that Havoc window, and then when you finally have it, you have a full shard count, and you're able to actually just go wild on these two targets with multiple Chaos Bolts and a lot of damage, right? So some really, really cool stuff. Like, so you see during that Havoc window, I was able to make myself run out of shards, and now I'm just building back up again for the next Havoc window. So it just feels really, really, really smooth gameplay in terms of that on 2-target, which I think is probably the best thing that they've done with Destro on the Battle for Azeroth servers. I can't believe I was targeting the wrong target there. Anyways, that's okay. Point still stands. Havoc, reduced cooldown, very, very good. Let's talk about the other good change, which was Cataclysm. So Cataclysm before used to be kind of a meme talent and never really had a place in raiding. It was like either you took Soul Harvest, which is now gone, FYI, or you took Fire and Brimstone, which made your Incinerate hit every target. Now, Cataclysm is a bit of a powerhouse talent. It actually does damage. So before, Cataclysm really didn't do that much damage. It didn't do a significant enough amount in order to warrant using it over the other talents. But now, it actually hits like a truck. Like, this 30-second CD is insane. So, just for a preface, like 10k DPS, single target is considered a lot right now. Anything more than that is kind of crazy. So if I was to like go on these 4 targets and I was to cast a Cataclysm, the damage is actually insane. So it was like 51k damage with 1 crit from 1 cast. It's just crazy. And it puts Immolate on all the targets, and it synergizes extremely well with Channel Demon Fire, which I'll talk about in a minute. But like just an insane button. Much more powerful than the reworked Fire and Brimstone, which only has 40% damage on the Incinerates, and then Inferno, your Rain of Fire is giving you more shards. Just isn't that powerful right now compared to this. So what you can do, if you're on multiple targets, is you can do kind of this really cool combo where you can Cataclysm into Channel Demon Fire like this, and just do crazy damage. Then you can put your Havoc on and can Flaggerate and cast some Chaos Bolts and do some cool stuff, and the damage is just out of this world, and it just feels really smooth to play. Okay, that's the most important thing I want to stress here. It feels exceptionally smooth to play. So really, really cool stuff going on with the changes going from Legion into Battle for Azeroth. The one final change I want to talk about is the change to Infernal. So Doomguard's now gone, and Summon Infernal is the cooldown that the 3-minute that we now have, and what the Infernal does is it does a lot of damage. It lasts 30 seconds, and not only that, the fact that it does a lot of damage, but also it generates you shards. So it's kind of this like a super mega host powerful cooldown where when you press it, you're just generating a crap ton of soul shards. It's doing a lot of damage, and you're able to cast more Chaos Bolts with it. It's a really cool synergistic Destro cooldown, and definitely having that impact, where it gives you shards, makes it feel more valuable than it does currently on the live servers, where it's just this huge damage cooldown. Not to say that, you know, Fire and Brimstone, it definitely is awesome. The fact that you summon like 4 Infernals and do a lot of damage is really, really cool. But again, the fact that it's generating you shards definitely makes it feel like a good cooldown. So that's kind of what's changed going from Legion into Battle for Azeroth, but now I want to talk about the talents. So obviously a lot has changed on the talents, but for the most part, what you're going to be running is going to stay the same most of the time. So just really quickly, in the first talent tree, we have Flashover, Eradication, and Soulfire. Soulfire is not a talent that you're ever going to use, so don't even think about that right now unless it gets buffed. Basically, you're choosing between Eradication and Flashover, and right now, I find that Flashover just does only a little bit better. So what it does is Conflagrate deals 10% more damage and generates an additional charge of Backdraft. If you don't know what Backdraft is, it just reduces the cast time of your Incinerate and Chaos Bolt by 30 seconds per charge, or 30%, sorry, per charge. So obviously very, very powerful. Not only does Conflagrate do a lot of damage, but getting that extra cast speed out there helps you generate more shards and do more damage more quickly. Eradication, obviously very powerful. If you're able to maintain it, just 10% passive damage on the target is good. But overall, just for kind of flexibility's sake, Flashover is definitely the stronger talent in the tier right now. Not necessarily for single target, but just overall the stronger talent. Going into tier 30, there's only really one pick here that's very, very good. It's Reverse Entropy. Internal Combustion and Shadow Burn are fairly strong talents. I'll talk about them a little bit, but what Reverse Entropy does is your spells have a chance to grant you 15% haste for 8 seconds. This is exceptionally powerful. 15% haste is a lot. It procs quite frequently. So like in a Mythic Plus scenario, whenever you get into a new pack, this thing's always going to be popping off, and 15% haste, you know, that's no joke. Think about 15% haste on live, like that's half a Bloodlust, right? It's a lot of damage. The other two talents, not quite as strong, but I could definitely see some niche uses for them. Internal Combustion, definitely in PvP, could be something that you kind of use. So what Internal Combustion does is when you have Immolate on the target, and you cast a Chaos Bolt, it deals a proportional amount of damage to the remaining time of your Immolate and consumes it. So it's kind of just like a bigger burst button. You see there when I pressed my Chaos Bolt, it hit for 15k. The Internal Combustion hit for an additional 2.5k damage. So, you know, that's like what, roughly slightly more than like a 15% increase on damage of your Chaos Bolts, right? But the downside is it does reduce your Immolate timer on the target by 5 seconds, which means you have to cast Immolate a lot more, which isn't really what you want to be doing in PvE scenarios right now. But overall, again, I could see this maybe be using in PvP. Now, Shadowburn has been reworked. It's kind of a cool thing that you can do with Shadowburn if you just want to have like a bunch of instant casts. It could be really fun to do this when you're leveling, for instance. Basically what it is it's another Conflagrate. What it does is it just generates you Soul Shard fragments, and if the target dies within 5 seconds of you killing it with Shadowburn, you get the cooldown back. So again, Conflagrate generates 5 Soul Shard fragments, Shadowburn generates 3 Soul Shard fragments. It hits for less than Conflagrate does, but you can spam it. So for example, if I had a 2 target here and I wanted to Havoc them, and I just wanted to run around and do damage, I could Havoc, I can double Conflag, do a bunch of damage, and then I could double Shadowburn, do a bunch more damage, and it's all instant, just running around, instant damage. Kind of cool how that works. But again, overall, I think Reverse Entropy definitely has the most potential in terms of a talent right now. Level 45 tier, not too much to talk about, same as on live. I think this is like the tier 75 row or something on live servers. Anyways, Demon Skin, Burning Rush, Dark Pact. Right now, you know, Burning Rush is obviously the go-to for raid scenarios, but obviously Dark Pact, Demon Skin still do the same thing, just defensive absorb cooldowns. The level 60 tier traits. So we have Cataclysm, Fire, Brimstone, and Inferno. Right now, Cataclysm is just like kind of the go-to in all scenarios. Not saying that Inferno or Fire and Brimstone won't necessarily be good in very niche scenarios where it's like mass constant AoE, but Cataclysm offering that burst potential as well as just putting Immolate on every single target is absolutely crazy. Fire and Brimstone, obviously just the same thing as on live servers, except the additional Incinerates only hit for 40% damage. And then Inferno, Rain of Fire has a 20% chance to generate a Soul Shard fragment. So if I would just press Rain on Fire in here, sometimes it would just be see here generating me Soul Shards back. So you kind of get a refund on it if there's enough targets available. So, you know, if you're spamming Rain of Fire, obviously this would be a very, very good talent. If, you know, you want to spam Incinerates for additional Shard Gen, this would be what you want to do. And then Cataclysm obviously is that insane burst cooldown, which I talked about earlier, where you can just do a massive amount of damage as well as put Immolate on every single target. Level 75 tier trait, we have Dark Fury, which reduces the cooldown of Shadow Fury by 15 seconds. So Shadow Fury is now a passive stun that you now have. Same thing as it is on live. It's an 8-yard, 3-second stun. I believe on live it's 4 seconds. But anyways, it's an 8-yard, 3-second stun where you can target and place like this. This just reduces the cooldown from 1 minute to 45 seconds. We have Mortal Coil, so that's just an in-cap that lasts for 3 seconds. And we have Demonic Circle, same as it is on live. Except you only need 1 button for it now. You don't need 2. Or did they change it? Oh, apparently you need 2 buttons. I thought it was just 1. Anyways, level 90 tier, we have Roaring Blaze, Grimoire of Supremacy, and Grimoire of Sacrifice. So right now, the most powerful talent is Roaring Blaze, which is just a passive that lets your Conflagrate do more damage. So say you're on 2 targets and you Conflagrate both of them with Havoc, they both get this dot, which actually does a significant amount of damage, and it stacks with itself. So you can do a lot of damage with this Conflagrate debuff. Actually, no, it doesn't stack with itself. Sorry, you want to make sure you're spreading it out, so it does the damage constantly, right? But so you would put Havoc on, and then you can flag once, wait for the dot to go away, and then you can flag again, and you can keep that dot rolling to do a lot of damage. Then we have Grimoire of Supremacy, and while you have Infernal active, every soul shard you spend increases the damage of your Chaos Bolt by 8%. So this is like a massive damage cooldown, because not only are you stacking your Infernal, which is your shard genning cooldown, but you're also stacking increased Chaos Bolt damage. And you can get this around to I've gotten it up to 70% or higher increased Chaos Bolt damage, right? Which is a lot. That's a lot of increased Chaos Bolt damage. So Chaos Bolt already hits for between 15 and 20k, and then when you have an additional 70% damage, you're getting up to almost 40k Chaos Bolts, right? Which is pretty insane. If you stack that with another cooldown, which we'll talk in a minute, it can get even more crazy, although Roaring Blaze seems to be the more powerful option right now. Lastly, we have Grimoire of Sacrifice, so if you don't want a pet, you can choose this. It does a lot of damage. It's very, very powerful. Grimoire of Sacrifice is not quite as a meme as it is on the live servers. So even though it has the same effect as it does on the live servers, it's more powerful now than it was before, so it's definitely a viable option. Lastly, in the 100 tier, we have Soul Conduit, Channel Demon Fire, and Dark Soul Instability. So Channel Demon Fire and Soul Conduit, same sort of effects as they had before. Soul Conduit has a 5% reduced thing here. It went from 20% to 15%, and Dark Soul Instability infuses you with unstable power, increasing your critical strike chance by 30% for 20 seconds. So that's a flat damage buff to Chaos Bolt, as well as 30% crit chance on your other abilities. So if you're to stack Grimoire of Supremacy, Dark Soul Instability, and channel a bunch of Chaos Bolts, you can do some pretty crazy things. But right now, Roaring Blaze and Channel Demon Fire is the same as it is on live, seem to be the best option. So right now, this is kind of the standard Destro talent list right here. In my opinion, I think this is the best one. I think this is the one most people would be running as kind of a standard dungeon setup once you hit max level. I'm just going to show you guys a little bit about how it plays. So the idea is in Mythic Plus, and in kind of leveling scenarios, you're going to be working it so you get big Cataclysm, Channel Demon Fire combos off. So what you're going to want to do is when you're approaching a pack of monsters, use whatever sort of, trinkets, passives, whatever you have beforehand. So I'm going to pop my trinket here. And then you're going to want to cast Cataclysm, and then you're going to cast Channel Demon Fire instantly after. Havoc, Conflag into double Chaos Bolt Conflag, okay? So like this. And then you're just going to want to spam Incinerate while you wait for your cooldowns to come back up. So as you can see, the damage is pretty nutty. 20k DPS on 4 targets is no joke. And the idea is, while you're waiting for your Cataclysm cooldown to come back up and your Havoc cooldown to come back up, you're just going to be generating soul shards. So you see here, my Havoc CD's back up now. I'm at full shard count again. I can do a bunch of damage. After this, I'll have my Cataclysm back up. Can use that like this. And you see you can have really, really good sustained multiple target damage, even though you don't really have any AoE abilities aside from, the Cataclysm. And you can do really, really solid burst AoE DPS. Really, really cool stuff. And if you want to, if there's more monsters than say 5 or 6, you can use Rain of Fire to do a lot of damage there, okay? So kind of a really cool way to kind of get a lot of burst damage, because trash packs don't typically live that long. So the fact that you have Cataclysm, Channel Demon Fire up almost for every single one of them to just get that huge wad of damage off very quickly is really, really cool. And then instantly after, you have that Havoc DPS, so it feels like you're having a constant flow of good damage going on the target. Now, in terms of single target DPS, you're going to be using Cataclysm on cooldown as well as Channel Demon Fire. Just be casting Chaos Bolts when you have them and using your Conflagrate to spread out that dot. So Make sure you're trying to keep up that conflagrate dot, and outside of that, just make sure you don't get capped on soul shards. That's really all it is. And then just fitting in channel demon fire wherever you can. So overall, the single target rotation isn't really that interesting. What makes this build kind of nice is it has that multiple target burst, which feels really fluent, as well as the reduced havoc cooldown. But I will preface in saying that like most of the Warlock specs on single target feel pretty lackluster right now. Obviously, there's some cool stuff you can do on single target now compared to before, so I want to talk quickly about what that is. So if you were to talent into Dark Soul, Instability, Grimoire, Supremacy, Internal Combustion, or sorry, Reverse Entropy, and Eradication, you can have these really sick cooldowns on single target that can allow you to do a lot of damage very quickly. Now, I don't recommend running these talents on single target. I don't think they're particularly good, but again, if you want to see some crazy numbers really quickly, you can use stuff like this. So the way you're going to want to play it is you're going to want to get a high shard count off the bat, and then after you get that high shard count, you want to use your Infernal cooldown, pop your Dark Soul Instability, roughly like 1 Chaos Bolt into it, and then once you get back to max shards, just so you get the full duration out of it, because your Infernal lasts 30 seconds, your Dark Soul lasts 20 seconds, you want to have your Dark Soul active when you're doing the most damage. Since you already casted a Chaos Bolt in the first 10 seconds with your Grimoire Supremacy cooldown, the damage on your Chaos Bolt is increased, and you want to stack those multipliers together. If that didn't make any sense, don't worry about it, use the cooldowns when you want. Okay, so what you're going to want to do, again, open with the Cataclysm. After that, we'll be popping our Infernals, followed by an Immolate. Then we're going to cast a Chaos Bolt, pop our Dark Soul Instability once we get back to full shards, and just cast as many Chaos Bolts as we possibly can. So let's just let's give it a go. So you see here my shard count, shard gen will be very good because of this Infernal here. So we're going to go ahead and pop that Dark Soul now, and start casting as many Chaos Bolts as we can. And you can see here the damage done by Chaos Bolt is increased by 48% already, and we're only about 60% of the way through the cooldown, so we're 64%, and our Chaos Bolts are just hitting like trucks. So this Chaos Bolt will be the hardest hitting one of the combo. It's 33,000 damage, and now we're pretty much out. Infernal's about to fade, and we're done there. So you can see a lot of Chaos Bolt damage, as well as the Infernal, right? The Infernal, like I said, is no joke. He does quite a bit of DPS. So if you want to see some big numbers, these are the sort of kind of talents you can run. Just combine your Dark Soul with your Infernal, and you can see some really good things happening with Eradication, okay? So that's kind of the single targety, bursty spec that we can kind of run, which is okay. Next, I want to talk a little bit about 2-target cleaving, and then afterwards, I'm going to show you guys a cool leveling build. So for 2-target cleaving, you're going to want to pick most likely Flashover over, I mean, you can pick Eradication. It's really just preference. I prefer Flashover. Cataclysm, I would choose Channel Demon Fire if I could. I could just do that. Oh, I have to wait for Dark Soul Instability. Well, I would choose Channel Demon Fire, and I'm going to choose Roaring Blaze here. So on 2-target cleaving, all you're going to want to do is make sure you're building up shards for that Havoc window, and making sure that you're prepared every single time you do go into that Havoc window to do a lot of damage. So the way it's going to look, you're going to precast Immolate on both targets. If they're stacked, you'll be using Cataclysm, Havoc one of them, Conflag the other one, cast 2 Chaos Bolts into an Incinerate, into a Conflag, into a Chaos Bolt, and then you're done. If you have enough haste, you'll be able to fit in that last Chaos Bolt there. And then you're obviously just going to want to refresh your Immolate during the downtime, and just build up shards now in between the Havoc CD. So Havoc's almost back off CD, so we're going to double Havoc, Conflag, cast a couple Chaos Bolts. I'm going to refresh my Immolate with the Havoc, cast another Chaos Bolt. Again, if you have more haste, you'll be able to fit more into that window, but in general, that's the idea of how it works. You're just going to be building shards for that Havoc window, and then once you have that Havoc window, you're going to try to stagger your Conflagrates so you get more damage from the Conflag dot, and then also try to fit as many Chaos Bolts as you can, because obviously the more value you get on your Chaos Bolt cats, the better it's going to work out for you, okay? So some really good things looking on the up for Destro. That's kind of the playstyle currently on the beta servers. Now, just before I go, I want to talk about this really cool leveling talent that I think a lot of people will be excited to do. So I haven't talked about this yet, but there's this thing called War Mode. And War Mode lets you pick PvP talents to use out in the world while you level. So one of the talents, and the most powerful leveling talent in the game, is Bane of Havoc. What Bane of Havoc does is, instead of just being able to Havoc one target, you can Havoc every single target in the area, okay? So this means, yes, you can cast one Chaos Bolt and it can hit like an infinite amount of mobs. So it's actually crazy. So you can see here, Bane of Havoc, it's a little circle on the ground that you can place. So the idea is you want to round up as many monsters as you can, and then you're going to want to put Bane of Havoc down. Now what this does is it causes all of your single target spells to also strike targets marked with the Bane lasts 10 seconds. So the idea is you group up a bunch of monsters. You'll probably want to cast Shadow Fury because you'll be taking a lot of damage. You'll press Cataclysm into Channel Demon Fire. Oh crap! I didn't have Channel Demon Fire. All right, we're gonna redo that. We're gonna do a redo. We're gonna get talented Channel Demon Fire. I totally forgot I wasn't talented to that. All right, I have to wait for the Havoc Cataclysm cooldown. But anyway, you'll do Cataclysm. We'll Shadow Fury into Cataclysm, into Channel Demon Fire, Bane of Havoc, Conflagrate, and then you're just gonna spam Chaos Bolts on everything. Okay, it's gonna be insane damage. It's gonna be hilarious. It's gonna be so fun to do. I can't wait to turn on War Mode and just level with Havoc because it's fucking awesome. All right, excuse my language. Okay, so let's fucking do it. Cataclysm, Channel Demon Fire, Bane of Havoc, Conflag, and then I'm just gonna spam Chaos Bolts like my name's. I don't know who spams Chaos Bolts. Somebody. Look at the damage. It's actually insane. It's so cool. It does have a 45-second cooldown, which is kind of long, but after that 10 seconds, just nothing is going to be alive because you're just going to be like Chaos Bolting everything in the face. It's pretty great. So anyways, that's how Destro currently looks on the BFA servers. Hopefully I'll be making a video about the Azerite traits to get you guys informed on that when it comes out. Let me know what you guys think about, you know, Destro locks, how you like it. To me, it feels like the most complete spec. It feels like it's ready to go. It feels like, you know, this is smooth gameplay, and while it might not be the most interesting on single target, we do have some cool stuff that we can do on multi-target, and that reduced Havoc cooldown is awesome. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you guys like this video, and yeah, thanks for hanging out. I'll see you guys later.